So is Carter Bryant the Kevin Durant replacement?
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am Damon Fairall. He is Kevin Thomas. We are here on a Monday in lovely downtown Phoenix at PHNX HQ2. And Kevin, we got a jam-packed show for the people today. A little bit of Tommy Lloyd. Does that float your boat a little bit? A little bit of Carter Bryant, some KD talk, maybe some finals fallout. And breaking news, Chip Hale extended by Arizona as the head baseball coach through the year of 2030. So we got a lot to talk about today. But Kevin, we'll start off. How was the weekend? How was the Hawaiian barbecue pool party from your perspective, brother?
It was a ton of fun. Thank you for popping out. It was a good time. Love some Hawaiian barbecue. Anywhere there's Hawaiian barbecue, you know I will be there. Yeah. Damon will also be there. It was just a very good time. It's
like a pie in like a cartoon. I like sniff it out and my body just starts floating towards wherever the Hawaiian barbecue is.
No, yeah, you'll never find a more connected pod than this one right here. You know what I mean? Damon popping out to Section 7 in the morning, driving all the way back just to have some Hawaiian barbecue with your guy and some of our closest friends. So, yeah, shout out to that. It was a great weekend, Damon. The weather wasn't too bad. Indeed. Raided some great food. Found a nice, house to rent. Hopefully we get that one. So, yeah, good weekend. It was all ruined by the NBA Finals, but we can talk about that in a second.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the finals did happen this weekend, and the Indiana Pacers, which featured two Arizona Wildcats, unfortunately lost, despite some heroics from both of those players at different times in the finals. I know Mathurin was slightly inconsistent at times, but he had that really, really, really good Game 3 that was a massive win at the time for the Pacers. And then finished it up yesterday with a double-double, 24 points. Nothing to say about Ben Mathurin's performance yesterday. TJ McConnell, there was a point there in that third quarter where he was the only guy scoring for the Indiana Pacers. But unfortunately, along with that came a lot of turnovers in that quarter.
7 of them. Six.
Was definitely put out of his comfort zone. Yeah, 7 in total, 6 in that quarter. Was put out of his comfort zone for sure. Having to be kind of the guy. And definitely threw everybody off their game a little bit. It felt like, for me at least, Kevin, that he was like the one dude that Rick Carlisle like kind of changed his structure of how he wanted him to play on the entire team. Everybody else just felt like it was business as usual. Siakam's going to play 37 minutes tonight, despite it being, the game that you need to unload the clip and give literally everything that you have. Without Halliburton as well. Nembhard's just going to play his regular, 28 minutes or whatever he played. Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You needed to change your rotation completely. It felt like Rick Carlisle was very like, I'm sticking to the game plan unless you're TJ McConnell. And then now you're the de facto Tyrese Halliburton for the rest of the game.
Yeah. How long did Pascal sit during the second half? At one point, I think it was 7 straight minutes of live game that he sat.
It's unbelievable.
And you just can't have that. Like, there's no more games. I saw a funny meme about the gigantic brain Patrick Starr, and it said, this is Rick Carlisle saving Pascal Siakam for a game 8. There is no more season after this. You leave it all out there, and if you must carry Pascal Siakam off the court, you will do that at the end of the game when you're hoisting the trophy. Because Indiana had a great chance to win this game. Mm-hmm. Even after Halliburton went down, you go up 1 into the half, and we're all thinking, is this about to be like some sort of Disney miracle movie where Halliburton, works his whole life for this, has an all-time clutch playoff run, unfortunately, tragically tears his Achilles in the first 5 minutes of this game after coming out hitting his first 3 threes, and then maybe the Pacers can gut this one out, but they did run out of gas, and Rick Carlisle's rotations, I agree, didn't really help them on their sustainability of the the fight there in that game.
The way that they were going to win that game was spark plays from guys like TJ McConnell and Ben Mathurin, and this isn't to take away from them because I think that, at least from a scoring perspective, they're two of the only guys that actually stepped up. But the way in which they were going to actually win that game was Nembhard, Nesmith, and Siakam being the trio of kind of team leaders. And all three of them kind of had a lackluster to bad game in Nesmith's case, where he doubled up his points in fouls. And so, yeah, I mean, I just think that you need those guys to kind of get hot from beyond the arc in particular. I know Nembhard shot pretty decent from three, but I didn't think he really took enough given the circumstances of the game. And yeah, I mean, Siakam certainly didn't feel like he was it felt like he was having trouble receiving the ball. Like that the Thunder were doing a really good job of keeping it away from him and keeping him in spots where they couldn't really give him entry passes. But in a situation like that, it's almost like if that's the problem, then he needs to start taking the ball up the court, because you need him to be involved in every single action almost the entire rest of the game if you want any chance of winning. This is the NBA Finals. It's Game 7, winner take all. It's almost inexcusable. But I will say it sucks for Tyrese Halliburton because, we saw a similar situation with KD where it's like these guys have strained calves and they're playing through it because it's the finals.
Yeah, there's nothing left.
Everybody would call you soft if you didn't try to play in the finals, and now it costs you probably a season and a half, and it's really unfortunate to see. But yeah, sucks from a Arizona Wildcats standpoint for sure.
It does, and there was a member of Arizona State's alumni, you know what I mean, that did win the NBA championship, and I know that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander won the Finals MVP, and he was a regular season MVP and the scoring champion, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know if you saw this, Damon, but after the Finals, I believe Lou Dort was awarded with an Oscar for his performance. He wasn't the only award winner. He got an Oscar, I believe, from the Academy for every time he got touched. He would fly at least 10 feet, and there's no one flopping like Lou Dort these days. Not a single person in the NBA flopping like Lou Dort. It's crazy. It's crazy. Bennedict Mathurin's bringing the ball up the court like a regular basketball player, and Lou Dort is diving in front of him like he's a scammer trying to get a car insurance payment, jumping in front of a car like that episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia where they're trying to get into the Phillies game.
Whiplash.
Yeah. It's horrendous. It's Game 7 of the Finals. Their best player just tore his Achilles, and we're just flopping.
He does play an awful brand of basketball.
It's horrendous. It's horrendous.
Obviously, the Thunder were the best team all season long. They deserved it. As the ASU guys, I don't even know what their point is. I mean, 14 straight years of an Arizona Wildcat in the finals making an appearance. 14.
Get out of here, Eric. Eric, leave. Eric,
you call that defense? You call that defense? You call this? Whoa, dude, that's defense. Apparently. Man, if that happened against those guys' teams, I can't even imagine what they would be saying right now.
Well, because I gave him an Oscar, Eric. I was giving him an Oscar. But yeah. I will say though,
that was the joke.
It wasn't just Lou Dort, right? I know we're giving a lot of stick to Lou Dort, but it was just the entire Thunder team. I know Draymond Green a long time ago had a quote about how if you enter the league and you are the loudest mouth and you are always berating the refs, they're never going to tee you up because you start here. And unless you go higher than where you're already at, that's when they tee you up. It's like the calm guys that get punished when they start yelling at the ref because the ref is like, whoa, this is not you. Tech. You know what I mean? But if Draymond is just if Alex Caruso is just hacking every single play, there becomes a point where you can't call a foul on him every single time because that is his standard. That's just how he plays defense. And it was unfortunate because it was a great finals. I'm not trying to take that away.
No, it was a great
But it
finals.
did feel like one team could play physical and the other team had to play very no touch, no defense at all. Meanwhile, Case and Wallace is quite literally holding TJ McConnell's hand at the half court line as he's trying to establish a dribble in front of the referee. And TJ McConnell is looking up while dribbling, saying, "Do you see this man holding my wrist 2 feet in front of you?" And the ref's just like.
And I think, I know that it happened a couple seconds after, but it ultimately led to a turnover. Because he's flustered and he's talking to the ref, being like, "What the hell is going on?"
He has one hand and the other one's being held. It's
the middle of the game. I don't always agree with this guy, but I think that this tweet is pretty apt. And this is Andy Bailey, who is pretty prominent on NBA Twitter, Bleacher Report, says he says, "I'm not trying to troll. I swear it's genuinely fascinating to watch what Alex Caruso is allowed to get away with as a defender." And then someone brought up his old tweet that he had earlier this May, where he said, "The key to being a great perimeter defender in the NBA is just to foul everyone all the time, your whole career, develop the reputation, and the officials will let you defend in a way others aren't allowed to." I think there have been a lot of tiers, and it's almost being overblown, I guess, regarding the foul discussion. But I do have to say that there is something to that. If you play extremely physical all the time, they won't whistle you for 8 fouls in a game. Instead, they'll be like, "This is the greatest defensive team we've seen in forever." And you're like, cool, so they can just do whatever they want. I know Arizona fans that were around for and old enough back then. I know I wasn't, but the 2001 national championship, I know that people talk about it the exact same way. Shane Battier was known as the best defender in college basketball. So when he is, constantly smacking people, fouling on contested layups, it's like he's allowed to get away with more because he has that reputation. And it was extremely frustrating. It always is for the people on the other side of that conversation who are like, we are just not playing at the same whistle right now. The way in which that they're calling this game is not consistent. And so I think that the refs really played into OKC's hands last night, which sucks because it was a great finals. And mostly it sucks because they didn't, as I was saying earlier, like they didn't need it. They could have, without Halliburton, they easily win that game probably anyways. So it's just, that part of it was annoying, but ultimately great finals, great performances all the way
McConnell
around.
left it all out there. The video that you posted from the Beat account of him walking off and hugging Reggie Miller broke my heart. You know what I mean? Because seeing TJ like that, I think Saul tweeted like seeing TJ cry. Nope, I'm gonna turn this one off. Absolutely not. That's about enough of that, right? And then you see like the video of his mom shielding him from the ESPN cameras as they're walking down the hallway. It was just heartbreaking the whole way around. The highs, the lows of this great sport.
It sucks
Damon.
Because that guy, he deserves a championship if anyone does, and just the way that he's had to kind of grind out his career. But at the same time, he did make way more of a name for himself in this finals, and people have a ton of more newfound respect for that guy than they did going into it, right? Which is, like the ASU guys can do their whole, but at the end of the day, people walked out of this finals being like, TJ McConnell, legend, Lou Dort,
loser.
Literally.
Yeah.
And
No, I
haven't
seen one complimentary tweet. I know Twitter is not everything. I know social media is not the full story of how people perceive a player, but not a single positive Lou Dort tweet outside of like his family and friends. You know what I mean? Like, and the diehard fans.
And ASU people.
Yeah, and the diehard fans that have been following him for already the whole time. But like the general basketball zeitgeist universe, it feels like is like this Thunder team. Ugh. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think it's also not helped by the contrast of how awesome, the Pacers run and how improbable it felt at times. Just for it to end that way, I think the Thunder are also getting a lot of that rub. You know what I mean? Just kind of being the unfortunate team on the other side of an all-time unfortunate injury. So yeah, great finals.
That does happen too. Which, you know what? I'll bring it up now just because we're on the topic. That did kind of disgust me back when the Warriors Raptors situation happened, because people were so sick of the Warriors at that point that they were almost celebrating that injury. And
you hate to see that stuff.
That really, really pissed me off. Like, I was not happy with that when that happened in the moment. And I think you got to see the opposite of that this time, because you were the underdog got hurt, not the favorite, right? But it sucks to see anybody get hurt like that, especially in such a big moment, especially when he looked like he was hooping. So did KD, by the way.
About to get the all-time Hale performance,
in that Raptors game, KD was going crazy before he tore his Achilles, if you remember correctly. So two pretty similar situations. Also, did you see ESPN didn't even ask what's his name? Bob Myers. Yeah. Joe Lacob, Bob Myers, getting them mixed up. Warriors former president of basketball operations. You see that ESPN didn't even ask him about the KD situation.
Yeah.
Sitting in the arena on courtside, basically, for the last time that a star like this blew out a major ligament in a finals game. And they're just like, man, that stinks, huh? Too bad.
Meanwhile,
Stephen
Stephen A's
A.
like, you know what really annoys me is you, Kendrick Perkins. I'm tired of you. It's awful.
Stephen A. How did the Thunder? Will the Thunder be called frauds if they win this championship?
I
Now
don't
that
know.
Halliburton's hurt?
That's Shea Gilgeous. I don't know. A lot of fouls.
Turns into First Take.
Yeah.
Just in the middle of the NBA Finals. As much as there's I have some problems with the inside the NBA guys. At least it's better than what we just had to witness for the entirety of the finals.
And one last note on the Wildcats side of things for the NBA Finals. It was really cool to hear Richard Jefferson, probably for my money, one of my favorite Wildcats of all time, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the call for the finals. But I did wish that, he was a little bit more critical of some of those things. Like Shea Gill just out there pushing off every play, and him and Doris Burke just over there like, look at the creation of space and the separation. I'm like, yeah, he just two-hand shoved the guy 2 feet away. But yeah, overall,
I will say your boy does that a lot. Stiff arms?
Hey, we're not talking.
I'm just saying.
This is not a Celtics podcast.
I'm just saying when he's getting away with it leading to finals on Mickey Mouse runs, you're all cool with when Doris Burke is glazing the stiff arm, the Tatum Derrick Henry stiff arm where he's shoving people to the floor.
Don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
They kind of play similarly. I know Shea gets a lot more fouls because I think that's the nature of being a guard versus a big forward like that. But I do like kind of like the way in which they take shots and their shot selection and stuff is somewhat similar to me. I know Tatum takes a lot more threes, but yeah. Honestly, the worst part for me is recently in the NBA, a lot of it has been dictated by injuries, it feels like.
Yeah, very unfortunately, yeah.
Like every year you go into the finals and there's just like one team is just hobbled. And you're like, cool, man, that was fun while it lasted. Like this year, again, the Pacers gave it as good of a shot as they could have, but it ends in this. Like the year before, I know the Celtics got to play a lot of teams that were banged up along the way. What?
Nothing, man.
You don't think so?
Just keep cooking, man. I'm letting you cook right now.
I know that like when the Heat played the Lakers, they didn't have Goran Dragic or Bam Adebayo for multiple games in that series and in the bubble. Like just a lot of stuff like that happened. But it is what it is. Maybe they need to look at maybe a little bit of a schedule change. The problem is they probably just need to play less games, and the NBA won't do that because it doesn't behoove them to do that at all. But that's NBA talk on the AZ Wildcats podcast. We'll be moving on, I believe, after that. Chip Hale extension. Big news. Kevin, we've talked about for a while now that the Arizona Wildcats were somewhat letting it go till the end here with Caitlin Lowe and with Chip Hale. We still haven't seen much progress with Caitlin Lowe. I wonder, and we'll get into that, I think, as we get into this conversation, but does that spell bad news for Caitlin Lowe? The fact that her season has been ended and, she still hasn't, there's been no rumors of an extension, essentially. Chip Hale gets it done pretty snappy right after the baseball season ends here, and rightfully so. The guy was the 23rd highest paid coach in college baseball prior to this, which is well below his pay grade, I should say. Like he's way more akin to a top 15 salary, I'd say, top 10, just given the state of this baseball program and kind of being one of the blue bloods of the sport, as well as, winning multiple conference titles now, making it to the College World Series. Like, I just think Chip Hale has clearly earned this, and he, signs his extension through 2030. So yeah, that's good news for Arizona baseball, and hopefully, capitalize on this momentum despite losing Kevin Vance to San Diego State. You can kind of just continue to have this program be near the top of their new conference and just kind of at the top of national prominence when it comes to college baseball as a whole.
1,000%. This is a move that had to be done as soon as possible. You've been on Chip Hale extension watch for I don't know how many months now, making sure that this got done. If no one was talking about it, Damon Dawg must be asleep or something, because you've been on this, Damon, and this was, like I said, something that had to get done. You had to bring stability to this program as soon as possible because you did lose Kevin Vance, and you don't want players to have question marks of, oh, is he coming? Is so-and-so coming back? Should I stay here? Should I go? Now you know that your skipper's locked in for another half decade here. So very, very happy with this move being done. I do feel like it is a positive thing for Arizona baseball, who's trying to get back to Omaha yet again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Gotta have to bring in a lot of hitters, I think, this offseason. Hopefully, and I think as well that Chip Hale has done a great job of developing talent. You look at a guy like Mason White, who didn't really have a ton of high level, P4, P5 interest coming out of high school. And, pretty much was just a baller from the second he stepped on campus to, when he ultimately hangs it up now at Arizona. But I just think in general, Chip Hale has done a great job of finding a little bit more diamonds in the rough, developing those guys. Maybe there's some freshmen that didn't play or some red shirts or something this season that will step up in a big way. And I expect there to be a few guys on that, side of things. But I also think that you're going to have to supplement, if you want to be super competitive next year and not just make this a transition year, by bringing in some pretty high level hitters across the country here from a transfer standpoint. Like Adonis Guzman was a Boston College transfer. And he wasn't always the greatest hitter in the world. And I think he ended the season very, very hot, like playing the best baseball probably of his career. But you need to bring in guys like that are going to make a real difference in year one at Arizona. And yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want to play for Chip Hale and play for this program at this point, right? Because this is a program that consistently wins. They consistently overperform when it comes to expectations versus where they end up. They consistently have postseason success, and they consistently have the best uniforms in all of college baseball. So look good, feel good, play good, great weather. What's not to love, man?
I want those navy ones back while we're on the topic. I want the dark blue ones to make a return.
Yeah.
At some point.
By the way, Arizona baseball, feel free to just clip all that and just use that like Becky Burke style in your recruiting pitches to these transfers, right?
See, I told you, Coach Burke. You don't know what you just did. Now we're bragging. We're telling. Now we're trying to get greedy. Now we're like, Arizona baseball, you got to do it. Arizona football, you got to do it. Just honestly, just hit us up and we can pre-record like a little 5-minute, brochure for you guys, and we'd be happy to do that. But no, before we move on from the Chip Hale thing, I wanted to ask you, Damon, how important do you think it is that they've extended Chip Hale specifically through 2030, which allows him to get theoretically an entire new class in and through Arizona before his time is up? Do you think that is something to note here in terms of how long the extension was?
Yeah, I mean, I think 5 years is pretty standard, right? And he had 1 year on that, so they're adding 4. I don't feel that that's like in particular super groundbreaking, just because I feel like that would be most likely what every coach would pretty much get. But I will say that it for an older coach like Chip Hale, and that's just reality. He is a little bit on the older side. He's in his 60s, and for a college baseball coach, that's getting up there. Like this is, who knows how much longer he is. You say like when he's ultimately finished. I don't know if that will include another extension on top of that. Like we will see, but it keeps him around for a lot longer, and this was expected. We talked about Michael Lev, putting in his articles, and he does great work at Tucson.com for the Arizona Daily Star, covering this team, covering the football team as well. But Michael Lev said that, he didn't expect this to be much of a issue. Like that Chip Hale was, pretty locked into Arizona to the point where, he's not going to be asking and leveraging a big giant extension after a big year. Like he is an Arizona alum. He's an Arizona guy through and through. He's lived in Tucson for a large portion of his life. Like he was the Tucson Sidewinders coach back in the day, Kevin. Like this guy is, all Arizona. And I think that this is where he wants to be. And Michael Lev did say, like, if anything, it would be getting big extensions for his assistants. And, I'm sure that with Vance leaving, that kind of nullifies needing to give a big extension to him, right? Because the new guy has never had any experience being a head college pitching coach, right? So Arizona's probably saving some money there, giving Chip Hale a slight raise and moving forward. And yeah, I think it's great news for Arizona baseball as a whole, and you just get to see the consistency of this program continue, hopefully. David makes a good point that I missed earlier. He says ESPN needs some big J journalists like ourselves. Absolutely. That me and Kevin are the big J's around here. And we tell it straight. We tell it like it is, man. No one does that anymore, Kevin.
No, they don't, Damon. They just don't do it like we do.
100%. You got Erica in here saying that Caitlin Lowe has some new recruits visiting the program. and says that she doesn't think she's done. I mean, I will say, like, yeah, they're absolutely new recruits, like hard to recruit when you got 1 year left on your contract. I guess it's just eye-opening for me, Kevin, and we'll get into this conversation right now. It's like her season's been done. They've had plenty of time to potentially work something out here, and they haven't. And it makes it seem like it's somewhat of an Adia situation where they're like, coach your final year of your contract here, and we'll figure it out after the season. Whether that's, softball has a great season and they want to bring her back, right? Or she recruits above her head. But for me, that's concerning as an Arizona fan. And not to say that like Arizona can't bring in a coach that can't do what Caitlin Lowe did. Do I think Caitlin Lowe should be fired? No, I think she's done a decent job, but not a great job, right? And Arizona's a program where you need to do a great job or else people will be calling for your head. I think it's good news that she's brought in like a recruit like an Addison Duke, who was I believe a top 50 recruit from the state of Arizona, went to Ole Miss to play SEC softball, transferred after not playing much. Like that's the type of player Arizona needs to bring in, right? Super talented from the state, comes here and will, has the chance to be a big riser in terms of how they play. But at the same time, Arizona's not really bringing in the SEC caliber players that a lot of these schools are bringing in because they just play in an entirely different NIL bracket when it comes to women's athletics than Arizona does. And that's unfortunate, but that's just the truth of the situation. Like women's sports at non-SEC and Big Ten schools are going to struggle moving forward in this NIL era with competing at the highest level because they just don't do it really, unless you're TCU or Iowa State or something that has just a giant purse for that. But like Arizona just doesn't seem like that they're willing to get to that level when it comes to investment. And so, it sucks, and hopefully it's not the, end of being nationally prominent in softball, but it doesn't feel like the situation has worked itself out, at least in my opinion.
No, I think you're right. And sorry, excuse me. I think when you look at Arizona's softball situation, we've kind of talked about it before in terms of comparing it to ASU baseball, right? Like you don't want to fall into irrelevancy after being one of the pillars of the sport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that this is an opportunity for DRF and Arizona Athletics to really stamp their claim and say, no, softball, this is what we do. We are an elite softball program and we're going to fund it as such. And it's yet to be determined as to whether they truly feel that way and want to continue that into the modern era or current era of Arizona athletics, right? So it is a little bit worrying that extension has not got done. I do agree with you on that.
I believe it should be a portion of the revenue sharing when they make that new system, right? That there is a designated percentage that will be cut out for Arizona softball, which is cool. It's good to hear, but it's not all that encouraging in the grand scheme of things when you look at Oklahoma and Texas. That was the national championship, by the way, if that was shocking to literally anybody. Probably the two schools that are investing the most money into those teams, right? Like from a transfer standpoint, from bringing players in. So, I think it just goes to show that the levels to which they're playing in are just not the same. And it makes Caitlin Lowe's job harder. Because Mike Candrea didn't have to deal with that back in the day. He just had to deal with having the best program, having the best fan base, having the some of the best resources because that was earned. And now it's earned through having a good football program, and it sucks. But not even a good football program, playing in the right conference, really. Because like you look at a school like, Missouri or something like that, not to take shots. But like, what is Missouri athletics? But they have
Eli Drinkwitz
10 times the money Arizona athletics does. When we have 10 times the athletic department that they do, and that's the part about college sports right now that really sucks, right? Because you don't feel like it's necessarily earned. And
correct,
yeah, it's brutal. Like Arkansas is nothing compared to Arizona athletics, and yet they will, probably like. Almost in every sport, and not to say that they have in baseball, but it's close at least. And that was almost unthinkable 20 years ago.
Correct. Yeah.
But that's all football money. And that's coming from a team that wins 6 games every year. They're not even a good football team in the SEC. They just have tons of fan support, and Jerry Jones investing in the team. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Also, that's on us because our 3 billionaire sports owners somehow hate our school and refuse to donate any money to it. So,
well, I'm glad I let you cook and get all that off your chest, Damon, while you had the opportunity to.
Artie Moreno, Woody Johnson, and Robert Sarver, you guys are scum of the earth.
Fund our program, please.
Yeah, and then I'll take it back and I'll be like,
the salt of the earth.
Humanitarian.
I didn't say scum. I said salt.
Humanitarian. Mother Teresa.
Father Teddy.
Yeah. Just naming like all of the great people of society.
Yeah. Well, I think we've kept the people waiting long enough, Damon. Shall we get to our first ad break and then premiere Saul Bookman's interview with Tommy Lloyd that he did last week here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. So stay tuned, stick around. We'll be right back after this break. Damon, it's a long off season, and one of the best ways to pass time is hanging out with your friends, betting on stuff, being competitive. Even if it's not about money, you can, bet anyone, anything, anytime with Vimy. You can bet for money, like I said, and you don't got to worry about payouts. Will my friend pay me back? Will they fulfill this bet that we made? It's tracked. You can have a third-party judge of the winner if you really don't trust your friends, which I don't know why you're betting with friends that you think are going to scam you like that, but that's fine. And like I said, if, Damon, he popped out to the pool party I had this past weekend. If I wanted to bet, Damon, who could, hold their breath under the water the longest, we could have done that using Vimy, and the prize could have been anything. It could have been money. It could have been a beer. And that's why Vimy is the best. The first of its kind person-to-person betting app. There's finally an app where you can bet anyone, anything, anytime. Bet on anything, sports, video games, fantasy matchups, little races, competitions, whatever you want to do. Damon and I, we should have used Vimy for our March Madness Survivor pool because I probably would have had a haircut by now that had a heart in it, but that's neither here nor there. And you can be like us and download the Vimy app and play today using code PHNX, available on the App Store and Google Play. Vimy, anyone, anything, anytime.
Vimy, an all new concept that we are so excited to be partnered with. Not a new concept, Kevin, but a staple of the flooring community, Empire Today. You guys have heard the jingle, Kevin.
Empire Today.
Go to empiretoday.com. We have a promo code for you. It's PHNX, and it's going to get you $350 off. Yeah, you heard that right, guys. Promo code PHNX, going to get you $350 off your brand new flooring. Here's why Empire Today is the absolute only place that you can get your flooring done. They're the flooring experts. This isn't something they do. This isn't some big box store where it's all home improvement stuff. No, this is their life. They love flooring. I'm on some Empire Today flooring right now. This hardwood is absolutely pristine. It's still shining like it's brand new, Kevin. They showed up here at the office. They used their virtual floor designer, took a picture of our studio, put down the options that we could have for this wood that we were going to get in this studio. And it gave us the opportunity to say, hey, we want that one because it looks the best with the background, with everything around here. You can do that in your own home, whether it's your kitchen, your bedroom, any of the above. Empire Today, they make it such a hassle-free experience from a standpoint of making such a massive purchase, Kevin. So schedule a free in-home estimate. Use their virtual floor designer. Use that promo code PHNX. It'll save you $350 off. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHNX for full details. Saul Bookman was in Colorado Springs at the Lettuce facility, otherwise known as the Team USA training camp facility. And in Colorado Springs, Tommy Lloyd obviously coaching the boys, Koa Peat out there. We already got our Koa Peat interview. Tons of great content surrounding Koa Peat on our YouTube channel. Go check that out right now if you haven't done so already. We did our exclusive interview with him. We also have some shorts and whatnot already out there on the streets, and we'll be getting more on the horizon as well. But Saul had the opportunity to talk to the head man, the head ball coach, Tommy Lloyd, and he did so in Colorado Springs. So without further ado, take it away, Saul.
Coach, thank you first of all for joining me today. The process that you take for Team USA versus what you do at Arizona, is there any difference in terms of the two and how you approach it?
I mean, not significant. When you're wearing the USA shirt, I'm representing my country, and each of us here, coaches and players, has a different home and a different team that we're usually working for or playing for. So, but when you come to this setting, it's about all uniting, and the approach isn't any different. We're always going to try to build a really positive culture and get guys to love each other, to play for each other, to support each other. And then we're gonna put in a system, and the system that we're putting in here is pretty similar to the system that we run in Arizona. So obviously I'm comfortable with that, and these guys seem to be doing a great job picking it up.
The nuances of coaching, with Grant. Obviously, the other coach, I forgot his name was Michael. Sorry. Yeah. In terms of like on the court, how much do you guys talk about the process and the things you're going to try and get accomplished on the court? And then when you get in onto the floor, if there's any like maybe tweak, something you would do but that maybe Grant wouldn't coach, how do you guys?
For sure. We're always sharing. That's one of the cool things. And it's our second year together as a staff. And, you could just feel it on day one that, not that last year was awkward or anything, but, we were all getting to know each other. And this year, we met, I think, I don't know, it was like Thursday or Friday night. We got in town and we all got together, and it felt like old times. Yeah. So, we're able to get in the court. We have a good flow together and good understanding. And those guys, were kind of helped me with the system last year, so they're having comfort with it, and I definitely ask them how they do things. It's a great time for me to learn as well.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about this is that you're constantly learning stuff like that, but also the approach with the players. Like I'm sure some of these guys you've recruited, they've opted to either go other places or even join you at Arizona, but building those relationships, how do you navigate that? Especially, like you had some cuts, and maybe some of those guys are guys that you're trying to recruit as well, and how do you navigate that?
Well, when you're wearing the USA on your chest, your job is to represent USA, and that's only fair to all the other coaches, all the other programs, all the players. So that's the folks, and obviously we've recruited some of these kids, and we've gotten some, we haven't gotten others, and I don't know. If a kid doesn't make the cut, then I don't know. I don't feel like it's me that's necessarily cutting them directly, but it's something they probably got to figure out. And I respect the kids for coming to this because these kids are all really talented. I think there's a stat that 40% of the guys that get cut
still
from
make
the tryouts,
it to the NBA.
Make it to the NBA. So and I think 30% end up being first-round picks. So Dalen Terry was a great example of that. So these guys all have bright futures ahead of them, and hopefully they come to this experience and they learn. But I respect them for coming because, you start with over 30 guys. Everyone knows you're only going to end up with 12. So everyone knows there's a chance you can get cut. So for kids to put themselves in a vulnerable position like that, I think is really cool.
Last question. From day one at Arizona to right now and everything in between with Team USA and making the Sweet 16 and stuff like that, how much have you changed as a coach from day one to now?
Well, listen, I'm sure I've changed. One of the challenges, I think, is how do you get that beginner's mindset where you have that energy and enthusiasm like you're just starting something. So that's something I'm really focused on, and I know I've gotten a lot better, and everything we've been through has been great. I know I'm hungry to accomplish more. I wouldn't have guessed 5 years ago. I'm proud of what we've done in Arizona, but I know there's more work to do. I would never have guessed that I would have been my second year coaching USA youth teams, because that's something I always grew up watching, and probably never thought I had an opportunity to do it. So yeah, it's been a great run, but I'm excited to kind of have this experience and hopefully it's a success. But I'm really looking forward to getting back to Tucson to kind of hit and reset and kind of refreshing everything and getting that beginner's mindset and attacking things with next year's team.
Do you get a kick out of coaching fundamentals or scheme more?
Both.
Yeah?
All of it.
Okay.
I love it all.
All right.
Yeah.
Coach Tommy Lloyd.
Yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks.
Great work by Saul Bookman. Great work by RG of DMVR as well with the crisp, exclusive practice footage, Damon. That's
my goat.
I feel like I'd be a fool to not take away from that. Obviously, there was a great amount about the coaching dynamics and how to coach an elite team and what you're really trying to do with these Team USA trials with roster cuts and the stakes of it all.
Yeah.
And just the elite level talent. But I feel like my biggest takeaway from that interview was Tommy Lloyd talking about his beginner's mentality and how excited he is to. Think about this. Tommy Lloyd, as a Team USA head coach, has signed himself up, obviously, for a wonderful job and for a huge resume chip, right? But also, he signed himself up for year-round basketball, year-round pressure as well. Like he's talked about in that end of summer, beginning of summer press conference that happened a week or two ago now. He spoke about that. This is different. Having game pressure year-round, having pressure to try to go win a competition year-round is a draining thing. And I'm not saying that Tommy Lloyd's about to come back in the winter and be exhausted and not ready to coach in the Big 12. That's not at all what I'm saying. But I do think that it is something to note of this is him entering a gauntlet Big 12 schedule, a gauntlet non-conference schedule after being in the group of death in the U19 FIBA World Cup in Switzerland. So same thing goes for Koa Peat as well, even though I think he's only going to grow from having that kind of year-round pressure, and he's already, won multiple gold medals. I believe I had in our rundown here that Koa Peat is trying to achieve history. You know what I mean, Damon? He is trying to become the first player ever to win 3 FIBA Youth World Cups, as he was also, just throw this in there, the first player to ever win 2 FIBA U17 World Cups. So Koa Peat is trying to continue his historic run before he even gets to college.
11th best player in high school basketball.
Crazy to me as well. So that was my biggest takeaway is just the fortification.
Won't be
fortification
the 11th
of
pick
Tommy
in the
Lloyd.
draft. That's that's the funniest part about that. You know what I mean?
No,
He's
yeah.
going higher than that in the draft next year. But Koa Peat, just like Mr. Accolades, it feels like. Just so many. Great chance for Tommy Lloyd to get a kind of a first look at Koa Peat. I know he has watched him plenty, but first look while coaching him hands-on and getting the opportunity to see what his dynamic like as a player to coach relationship looks like, and also just see him show his level against the other top competition in college basketball and the high school ranks. So yeah, I mean, I'd say nothing but beneficial for Arizona here. Another takeaway that you had, Kevin, was Grant McCaslin's height, standing next to Tommy Lloyd. So
okay.
I did look this up, so I have some concrete evidence as to
he looked small next to Tommy.
So you were full scale, tears, laughing, haha, look at short man.
All right.
Must be this tall to ride this ride. That
short
kind of stuff.
jokes are funny, man.
How tall do you think Grant McCaslin is?
Realistically, because of the conversation we had, I feel like 5'10". But I feel like
he's 5'9".
Okay,
that's how tall I am.
I feel like
So it just felt pretty bad when I typed in Grant McCaslin height after you were getting all these jokes off, all these jokes.
And he's just like me for real.
And I was just sitting there and I'm like, yeah.
No, I get it. I do get it.
Let's make fun of the short freak.
5'9". To be fair, like I said, before you and I had our conversation, because during that interview, I was like, well, what's Tommy Lloyd's actual height? And you were like, he's kind of taller than you think.
I was actually wrong. I undersold Tommy. He's 6'4".
Oof. Yeah, see, I didn't think Tommy was like
Tommy
that
was a
tall.
hooper, bro.
Yeah, but I didn't think he was like that level of height. And so, yeah, I take back what I said about Grant McCaslin during cutting that interview. And
You'll
also,
never take it. You'll never be able to take it back. I'll never forget that.
I didn't say anything crazy. I just said, wow, he looks incredibly short. And I was kind of laughing at that, the size difference.
You said, I believe you used the words of, that short freak should be in a circus somewhere for being so short.
No, I have witnesses. Gerald is a witness. That never happened. No, that never happened.
I'm afraid it's hearsay all at this point. But yeah, I mean, great interview. Great job by our guy, Saul Bookman. Again, if you guys aren't following Saul, what are you doing? At Saul_Bookman. Doing a lot of great work on the supplemental side regarding Arizona Wildcats content and helping us out over here at the AZ Wildcats podcast. Just another great job. And speaking of Grant McCaslin, we will have a Grant McCaslin interview that Saul Bookman conducted as well right out there in Colorado Springs that will get out on our YouTube channel. I'm sure Kevin, when he makes the thumbnail for that, will be like Short Freak Talks Team USA or something like that. But yeah, just a great time.
The shortest king in the Big 12.
Just a great time out there, Kevin.
We have TJ Tiny Shirt Otzelberger. We can have Grant Short King.
I would tell TJ Otzelberger that to his face, though.
McCaslin sounds fire.
Wouldn't you tell TJ Otzelberger that to his face, though?
Yeah,
I'm not
I try
calling
to make
Grant McCaslin short to his face. I'd be like, hey, TJ.
Can we talk about the shirt?
Mediums? Mediums.
Look,
brother, I'm wearing XLs. I'm not a big dude.
I try to not make a habit of saying things that I wouldn't say to people's face about people. You know what I mean? Especially on this iconic great program that you and I have.
Yeah.
But I think I would.
Nice
I think I would mention to Grant McCaslin, like, hey, I was watching, you and Tommy Lloyd coach Team USA, and I was like, whew, the height difference was crazy. I didn't know that Tommy Lloyd was a giant. That's how I would frame it. That Tommy Lloyd is the giant, and you are normal height.
Yeah.
But he made
Tommy
you
Lloyd a tall freak walking around.
Exactly. And Igor in the chat bringing up the video that I want to give a shout out to. I believe it was Keontae on Twitter that tagged you and I. He posted the TikTok from AJ DeBance's TikTok of him and Koa Peat dancing. never seen that side of Koa Peat before. I think someone in my comments after I reposted it said the same thing. They must know Koa personally, the way they phrased it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was funny to see the top 2 freshmen in the Big 12 getting their TikTok on, especially because I didn't really see Koa Peat as much of a TikToker. You know what I mean? I didn't really see him as much of a dancer, but he was out there, getting his TikTok on.
You know what? Koa is he's out there, he's vibing. He's having a good time. I don't think he is a TikToker. I think he was in on AJ's TikTok and he did it because that's his boy. But
yeah, when in Rome,
that guy's
right?
about ball. You know what I mean?
I do.
So yeah, like this video if you guys haven't done so already. We appreciate everybody for being here, rocking with us on a Monday. Fired up to be giving you all of the best Arizona Wildcats coverage throughout the week. But like I said, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. Kevin, we're going to get into Section 7 that happened over the weekend. I went out there, talked to some people, and as well as Koa Peat and his U19 kind of just stock. And Carter Bryant, is he a future son? Is he the KD replacement, as Kevin said in our cold open? We'll get into that and more on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
Oh, Kevin Durant. They don't want me anyway. But you know what you do want? You want Monarch money. Because we're not all Kevin Durant. We don't all got hundreds of millions in the bank. So sometimes you really got to be careful about your income and your expenses and all that stuff. And if you're anything like me and you're awful with numbers, Monarch Money is the best way to track your finances. It was also named the Wall Street Journal, ever heard of them, best budgeting app of 2025. So if you want to straighten out your finances, like me, I'm a Monarch Money user. I found out I was spending way too much money on subscription services. I had like 8 different streaming services, and I watch like one TV show at a time. And Monarch Money helped me get my money right as I'm saving for my trip to Atlanta this upcoming week. So check out Monarch Money, get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code PHNX at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year of money saving tools with Monarch Money. We're saving you money on saving money. Does it get any better than that? Use code PHNX at monarchmoney.com.
Monarch Money is guaranteed to save you a couple bucks, on a monthly basis in your bank account. Another way that you could save a couple bucks is by investing in a pair of Shady Rays. Kevin, how are you when it comes to sunglasses, keeping them in good shape, keeping them not lost, and leaving them wherever you are?
Can I tell you? Is this a safe space? Really quick and during the ad read,
trust
I dropped my car off at the repair shop this morning to get repaired.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm realizing right now I left my Shady Rays in there, and I'm pretty sad about it. But can you tell me if there's anything that could help me out with this, Damon?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've talked about it on this show. I went to Hawaii, and
luau.
I had my sunglasses as I was walking off the plane because I thought I was badass. And then I took my hoodie off because it's 83 degrees and humid there on like an airplane. And as I took them off, I put them to the side. I left them. What did I do though? I hit up my friends at Shady Rays. They sent me a brand new pair because that's what their lost and broken replacement policy is all about. Everyone knows that you break sunglasses, you lose sunglasses all the time. Shady Rays, plays the middleman there. They get rid of the difference and they give you premium shades for not a premium price. They're very affordable and they're polarized. And with our promo code of PHNX, you can get 35% off those brand new pair of sunglasses. So they got them for any style. I have some good golf glasses that I got from Shady Rays that I love. And like I said, hit them back up when I lost mine. They sent it through, no hassle. It was just a great way of going about finding a new pair of sunglasses. It's an investment for life, really, when you use Shady Rays. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com, use code PHNX for 35% off. Polarized sunglasses, try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Well, Kevin, why don't we first, because just in the spirit of being in the Team USA conversation of things, why don't we talk about that Koa Peat aspect of Team USA?
Let's do it.
You mentioned it, that he is the first player to, he's seeking to become the first ever player to win 3 FIBA Youth World Cups. And the United States is in the group of death, which I believe you've coined. I
did get that from an article, I believe.
Really? Because when we first were talking about it, I remember the first I heard of that, you were like, "Oh my God, this group seems insane."
I said everything from the jump. I said everything but calling it the group of death.
Correct. Yeah, which is not really it's not. They don't get to claim that as an independent thought. That's a thing that everybody says. But
tune in during the Champions League draw,
you got
and you'll
France,
hear about a ton of those.
You got France in your group, who is probably outside of the United States the world's second foremost developer of young talent consistently. That's not to say that there's not, a really good Serbian player, a really good Slovenian player here and there. And if, former Yugoslavia was still a country, I'm sure we'd be saying that they are the second best. But as things are currently constituted, you have guys like Wemby and generational type prospects, even Alex Sarr, who had a great season this year. Like, France is putting out some players. On top of that, you have Australia, who always has a pretty solid team because basketball is fairly popular in Australia. You have, not a lot of great players at the exact moment that I can think of, but, you've had teams with like Andrew Bogut and Matthew Dellavedova in recent years that like players that were playing high level basketball and they kind of know how to play together, right? That's another aspect of it. When you play smaller countries, you play these guys that are more used to playing with each other. They know how to play within the system to an extent. And I think it, goes a long way in terms of, kind of just mismatching like an all-star team like the U.S. tends to do. And then Cameroon, another team that, produces talent, right? Like, it's I believe, that was Joel Embiid's team that he was going to play for in the World Cup before he ultimately decided to ring chase for Team USA. So,
just a shameless performance.
The most shameless.
Have some shame.
As much as me and Kevin disagree on basketball because I'm a Heat fan and he's a Celtics fan, and those two teams are very much at odds, we very much can align on our pure, like, unadulterated hatred for Joel Embiid as a basketball player.
Yep.
Probably the least likable player, in my opinion, in the entire sport. And him doing what he did with Team USA only adds to that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'll say the least likable non-criminal in the NBA.
Sure.
Miles Bridges, he's 1-1 first draft pick of guys that are just like, why are we even? What's that guy doing it in a jersey still? You know what I mean? Like, we got to get him out of the league.
Yeah.
Bad guy. Anyway, though.
I'm with you.
Yeah, Joel Embiid, that was a fraud show. But Team USA, they are in that group of death. Cameroon, like you alluded to, it's their first time in this competition.
Mm-hmm.
France earned a medal in each of the last 3 versions of this competition. And Australia, like you said, has a great history of basketball. I believe they won this in the early 2000s, 2003 is when Australia last won this competition. So
Kyrie Irving, Australian. People forget.
Joe Rogan, people forget, man. Kyrie Irving was on that Australia team. But his leg kicks were just crazy. Yeah,
and he really invested in his ground game.
Over time, Kyrie. The schedule for these pool games, if for those that want to watch, Saturday, June 28th, this upcoming weekend, actually, versus Australia, 8:15 a.m. MST, and then you have Sunday, June 29th, and Tuesday, July 1st is when they play Cameroon.
Kevin will be tuning in. Scouting.
I will. I will be there. We will be there. No
Kegs
matter
and
what.
eggs early in the morning, brewing a cup.
Hey, man. Saturday's going to be a long day. Taporia Oliveira at the end of the day. You got Peat and Tommy Lloyd and Team USA Basketball at the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
It's a huge day for your boy. Saturday. I'm very excited. And I'll be in Atlanta. Oh, man, it's going to be great.
Oh, I forgot you were going to Atlanta at the end of the week. That's right. Kevin, Mr. Vacations Thomas, will be continuing his benevolent run of going on vacations. Sad, really.
Don't worry. I'll be putting in the sweat equity in the Georgia humidity.
Hell yeah. That's all I care about. But Kevin, I did go to Section 7, as we mentioned. Saw a lot of people out there. Saw one Bryce James, who people might be familiar with. Kevin, I believe we have the picture. I was sitting there. I was watching Chris Paul's son's team. Chris Paul happened to be in the building. By the way, Kevin, there was a Escalade that was parked outside the Arizona Athletic Grounds, which is like where they do Section 7 nowadays. They just made the switch from State Farm Stadium. And this was like this one was parked right outside the entrance, car on, driver in it, and a California plate. And I was like, oh, that's Chris Paul's car. But yeah, I was just sitting there chilling, hanging out, and just kind of just taking in the Chris Paul vibes. And who walks up other than Bryce James, decked out in Arizona gear. As you could see there, he had Cactus logo shorts on. He had a U of A red long sleeve on as well with that Big 12 logo on it. And they just started talking for about a good 10 minutes there, snapped a pic. Check it out on my Twitter if you want to see it at Damon Dawg, DAWG. But yeah, lots of Arizona people out there as well. I saw the Burries out there, and Braden Burries and his father Bobby. Introduced myself to both of them, both very nice. Just out there to watch some high level hoops. I like Bobby Burries had a Braden Burries Arizona jersey on already, just repping hard for the crew, for the squad, and just letting people know out there, right? Like that's recruiting in and of itself. I feel like Bryce James being out there wearing his Arizona stuff, like Bryce James, you see him and that's LeBron's kid right away. Like that is not like a guy where you're sitting there and you're like,
who is Chris Paul talking to?
Is that Bryce James? No, like Bryce James is 6'5", like legitimate 6'5", 6'6". Look at him next to Chris Paul in this picture. I mean, Chris Paul is probably 5'11". I think he's listed 6 foot or 6'1", but he's probably about 5'11", 6 foot. And Bryce James has a good head on him, right? Like he's a pretty tall dude. And that's where we were talking about it a little bit, Kevin, on Saturday. Like he supposedly has had a growth spurt in the last year here. Still growing into that body a little bit. Like obviously wasn't, the highest of level recruits, but there's something to work with there, especially from a size standpoint. He has a size that Bronny didn't have, and like I said, he needs to grow into his body. He needs to grow into that athleticism that we all know he harnesses, but definitely was impressed by just his size while I was out there. Also saw, as I said, I saw the Burries family. I saw, friend of the program, Coach Brandon Chappelle, who we had on 2 weeks ago. Was great catching up with him. Coach had on a Arizona Lulu shirt, Kevin.
Ooh,
my boy had on
straight from the campus store.
Oh yeah, and I had to say, I was decked out in Lulu because how it is. Yep. Had a Lulu shirt on, Lulu joggers, and I no free ads, by the way. And
it's prospecting.
Yeah, and I was like, Coach, you had to do it to him with the Lulu, and he was like, yeah, I came out of my own pocket on this one, but he's like, I had to do it. And I was like, I respect it, but fire looking shirt, by the way. But yeah, crazy environment out there, Kevin. If you guys haven't been and you guys love like high school hoops, like watching kids develop and whatnot, it's an absolute must go. Only problem with it is out in the middle of nowhere. Like when I say it is in East Mesa, I mean like it is in New Mexico. It is unbelievable how far it is. But I will say, like, I live central, and it was still like a 35-minute trek for me. That being said, awesome facility out there. Like there was like Taekwondo tournaments going on and stuff, Kevin, in like the same, like there's a food court with like Wetzel's Pretzels in the middle of this youth athletic training facility.
Prospecting.
And then just like then there's just like a like martial arts going on right next door. It was crazy, man. It was absolutely crazy. But tons of faces out there, tons of prominent people. Will Fairall was out there. Did you know that? Will Ferrell's son was out there.
Real quick, Damon, I knew Will Fairall was in town because I have a friend that works at Restaurant Redacted. And she actually served Will Fairall.
No, I need to know.
It was like I don't know how to pronounce it, to be quite honest with you. It was Huarichis or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? The place not far from here, actually.
Yeah, it's a taco spot, right?
Yeah. It was there.
I've heard from Britton Golden that place is unbelievable.
It is really good. And she served him, and so I knew Will Fairall was in town. So you both saw. He doubled up.
Yeah. Will Fairall was out there watching his son, who I heard didn't play a whole lot, but still supporting, still holding out strong. But yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of fun out there. Tons of high level players, man. Tons of high level players. And a lot of guys that Arizona's in on. I saw all the Arizona assistant coaches out there. I did not see Tommy Lloyd because I'm sure he's gearing up to coach in the Team USA side of things, which you could say is obviously an asset for Tommy Lloyd, but also in this circumstance, it keeps him from being out there, right? Whereas like I see Tad Boyle out there and I almost walked up to him and said like, it's an honor to meet the most average coach in college basketball, my man. Tad Boyle, extremely tall, by the way. But also
look out, Grandma Caslin.
Yeah, look out. Lorenzo Romar was out there. I mean, I saw all the UCLA assistants, couple ASU assistants, which, like, I'll be honest, I almost felt bad.
Yeah,
like literally, like I'm not even kidding. Here? I saw them and I was like, man, like no one.
Who's gonna tell, bro?
Yeah, like no, like. And you know, people were telling me it's true. It's the truth. Like that's how they network for that next job. But yeah, it's smart. It's smart.
Real quick, Damon, on the Section 7 topic, specifically Bryce James, this is what I wanted to mention before we got too far off of it. And I should probably send us into overtime. So if you're watching with any of our TV streaming platforms, please head over to gophnx.com because overtime continues there. I wanted to mention, Damon, we saw that photo of Bryce James and CP3, right? Bryce James, I'm not really one to pocket watch, you know what I mean? But Bryce James probably has a decent bankroll to him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's strapped for cash these days.
No, I'm pretty sure his NIL package is fat.
Yeah, I mean, sure, the NIL package, the trust fund,
Totally.
whatever you want to, however you want to get it, he's got it. You know what I mean? And I feel like his closet, again, without trying to pocket watch, probably has a lot of very nice, very expensive clothes in there. You know what I mean? We all saw the prom post he made a year ago where he was just decked out to the nines with drip and all the jewelry and expensive watches and blah, blah, blah.
I can't say I did see that, but continue.
He's out there wearing Arizona sweats and an Arizona warm-up shirt to Section 7. No, I'm not saying it's not swag. My point is, he could wear anything in the world from any brand, any designer, and he said, I want to rep Arizona.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. I want to show up to this event, and I want to say, hey, I'm Bryce James. I play for Arizona. Don't you want to come play with me and my friends over at Arizona?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a huge, huge plus. You know what I mean? I think, I know it's not the exact same one-to-one topic comparison, but I know some people that are, let's just call it a spade, the LeBron haters in the Arizona fan base when Bryce James signed here. They're all saying like, "Oh, what about the circus that's going to come with the LeBron's son? Did you see what happened to USC?" There's not really a circus that comes with being LeBron's kid. There's a lot more media attention, sure, but it's not like they're head cases that make everything about them. This to me shows another indication of that there's not going to be a circus. Bryce James is about as bought in on Arizona as you can be.
Yeah.
For a guy who doesn't really have to be. You know what I mean? So that was a really cool thing for me to see him fully decked out in Arizona gear because we all know where he's going to school. He doesn't have to do that. He could wear anything he wants. And he chose to rep Arizona. I thought that was a very cool touch.
Yeah. And honestly, like Braden Burries wasn't wearing any Arizona stuff, but his entire crew was. His dad was wearing the jersey, as I said. I believe his brother was out there, and he was wearing a U of A branded Bills hat. Now, that's not a free ad. That
representation.
That's facts. He had the red golf rope hat with the block A on the front. Beautiful. Pristine hat from.
Do you want to look like Braden Burries?
Well,
do you want to be as cool as Braden Burries?
It was his brother.
Okay, well, his brother. But Braden Burries probably has one. If his brother's got one, you don't think Braden got the same one?
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying?
Branded Bills is the hat to own if you're an Arizona fan. But that being said, it was really cool to just watch some really high level basketball out there and get a first look at. We talk about a lot of these guys, Kevin, and we can get a decent analysis of them from watching some highlights and from hearing, people that are really, really locked into high school basketball recruiting and what they have to say about these guys. But we really, truly don't get a first look at them until they get at Arizona. But something like this, Section 7, allows for people to get out there and take a peek at a Cameron Williams, take a peek at a Cam Holmes, and really look at these guys before they get to the college ranks. Darius Wobbington was out there too, another guy that Arizona has been, recruiting a little bit more recently. In particular, he got his offer a few weeks ago now, but he looked a little raw, to be honest with you. They break it up into like different divisions and whatnot. He looked a little bit rawer than I would think I would expect out of a 5-star, but he's also a sophomore 6'11" dude who's learning how to play basketball at that size, right? So I think that's to be expected, and the athleticism is really what you want to see. What's crazy is when you are out there, Kevin, and you're seeing team from California with a 6'10" guy on their team, and then you're like, who is this cat? And you look him up, and he's like a 3-star who has interest from Long Beach State, and you're like, damn, there's really 6'10" dudes out there who are not the premier prospects, if you will. I found that part of it really interesting. But in particular, watched a lot of Cam Holmes. I thought he looked pretty good. One thing I liked watching Cam Holmes, and not that this is necessarily the most shocking thing in the world because he's a 5-star recruit, but 6'5", 6'6", essentially bringing the ball up the court and initiating offense on basically every possession. Something I like to see, at least, because he was the tallest dude out on the court in the main game that I was watching him in, which is like at 6'5", 6'6". That's going to be a lot different when he gets into the college level, right? Like, he'll never be the tallest person on the court. But it's nice to see him have that ball making chops and that playmaking ability with that size already, because he's going to need that at the next level, because he's going to play more of that wing role where he's going to have to put the ball on the floor a little bit.
Yeah, and I know when you showed up to the pool party, you were describing some of the rebounds he was getting, and I was like, is that going to translate? I don't know if that's really going to translate. Just going up and grabbing it. Oh, yeah. I'll take that. But yeah, shout out to you, Damon, for heading out to Section 7 early in the AM when I was prepping some chicken to be grilled. You know what I mean? Damon was working for this podcast, for you people at home, to get the content that
you fed me, my man. I think that's a fair trade-off.
Hey, I didn't say I didn't pay you back on the other end, but I'm saying you got these people the content that they want. The Bryce James, Chris Paul link up. You got some Cam Holmes, some Cam Williams analysis to bring to the table. You're just killing it overall for this podcast.
The crazy
Damon.
thing out there, though, is when you're like out there watching like some of the younger teams that are out there, right? Or like maybe not even younger teams, maybe younger players was a better way of saying that. Because they're like high school teams, so they'll freshmen could play on the varsity team, obviously. But like you're watching these guys who are like 14 get the ball in transition and just yam on somebody, and then you're just like,
check the birth certificate. You know what I'm saying?
What?
You're just like, yo, yeah.
Well, it's just like a different level of athleticism that you're not used to. But yeah, all in all, really cool experience. Happy that I got a chance to get out there. And yeah, I mean, like I said, if you're in that section of the world, like if you like watching
the 7th section,
yeah, sure, that's the good way of putting it. If you like watching youth sports, I think that this is like a must go if you're in the state of Arizona. Another guy that I wanted to touch on here is Cameron Williams, who is of St. Mary's. Who I believe, isn't that where Channing Frye went to high school? I'm pretty sure.
I'll check it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure Channing Frye went to St. Mary's, so there's a little bit of a Arizona to, or St. Mary's to Arizona pipeline already in place. But Cameron Williams just looked unbelievable, and one of the main things I noticed,
St. Mary's, yes. Channing
one
Frye,
of the
yes.
main things I noticed when he did look unbelievable out there, Kevin, is this guy is a power forward, and he is so damn big, like NBA power forward size. And I think that that's a huge asset at Arizona, right? Like that's something that like the Dukes of the world get. They get these, 6'10", 6'11" athletic guys to play power forward, and Peat is along those lines as well. But I think Cameron Williams is clearly that guy you want to take that spot going into the next season. I think he sat out like his final game, but yeah, he looked really, really good. He played against Tony Bryant. Who is obviously Arizona is recruiting, and we were talking about last week. I believe it was Joe Tipton that reported that Tony Bryant will be taking a visit to Arizona in the near future here. But it seems like Cameron Williams kind of got the best of him, ended up getting the W, and just kind of proved to everybody that he's just a like incredible basketball player. Mick Cronin, I think, was out there as well. I didn't get to see Mini Mick, but
was he throwing a tantrum or no?
No, I didn't see that, but I wish that I did, because that would have been a lot of fun to just kind of be like,
yeah,
what's up, little man?
Oh wow,
I'll little man him.
All right.
That's free game.
That's for Justin Spears.
Yeah, that is for Justin Spears. How dare you talk to Justin Spears like that?
He's a good guy.
But Kevin,
even though he's a Lakers fan.
Did you have any thoughts from anything that you heard from, what's going on out there at Section 7 this weekend?
Honestly, I know this is lame for podcasting purposes, but no, my biggest takeaway was the Bryce James representing Arizona thing. I think that was huge. Obviously, the Braden Burries being there, also representing Arizona. You chopping it up with everybody, including Coach Chappelle, was a huge takeaway for me. Just superstar Damon Fairall. I think you pretty much covered the bases on your takeaways from Section 7. I'm excited to see where some of these players end up. I know that, the amount of players that end up playing professional basketball there, I don't know the exact percentage, but I'm sure it's quite high.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Damon said, try to make it out there if you can. I couldn't this time around, but it seemed like a really fun time.
You're going next year.
Yes. And like some of the players in Section 7 that are trying to make it to the NBA, Carter Bryant, Damon, has we have some updated mock drafts in light of some of the recent NBA trades that have gone on. Obviously, KD to Houston means that the Houston pick has now been exchanged with the Phoenix Suns.
The Suns
which means,
pick via Houston, now owned by the Suns, you meant to say.
Correct. Yes. I thought it was a very funny tweet. On a side note, some Suns fan posted a photo of Beal, Kevin Durant, and Booker like next to each other, like the new big three. And I think maybe it was the Phoenix Suns account, maybe it wasn't, but it was like the end of an era was the caption, and they just said the end of an error with like a correction. And that's kind of what you're alluding to, right? You get your own pick back, and now you can maybe select Carter Bryant, which is what we're getting at here.
Mm-hmm.
I know that a couple people in the chat, James and Trevor earlier, were asking about our thoughts on Carter Bryant potentially to the Suns, and we could get to that now. I do have an update on some of the mock drafts. We're seeing Carter Bryant hit here. Washington Wizards, number 6 from the Ringer. Phoenix Suns being projected to pick Carter Bryant by Yahoo. Portland Trailblazers also.
No thanks.
Yeah, also by being projected there by ESPN. And then at number 15 from Sports Illustrated, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, damn, Carter Bryant with joining the championship team would be kind of crazy. But which
would be a perfect fit for him.
It would be, yeah.
Just in the terms of Carter needs a little bit of, I think, space to be able to develop. And, he's not going to join the NBA and be a world beater right away. I know people have tons of high expectations for him and what his potential could be. But I think an ideal situation for Carter Bryant would be going to a spot that's a little bit more established, that already has a winning culture put in place, and that he can, grow into the player that we all know that he could be. But also unrealistic. I don't think that he makes it to 15. I do think that there's a good chance he's on the board, though, when the Suns pick at 10. So that would be interesting. It certainly fits the need of what the Suns kind of would like. Like the Suns, you look at their roster, I know the jokes are all that they have a bajillion shooting guards, which is true to an extent. You got Devin Booker, Jalen Green, Grayson Allen, Dylan Brooks, kind of, right? He's kind of a small forward, but wing, right? Royce O'Neal's a wing who can play a little bit of small ball 4. And then I believe you also have Bradley Beal, who I can't believe I forgot. But
I can believe it.
No, but he's unforgettable. You know that.
I do. I don't want to forget Bradley Beal, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he just played with the Wizards forever, but after this, he's unforgettable. I will say though that they could use more wing help, more forward help, right?
Yeah, there's more size and length at the wing position would help you out. Right now, you pretty much have Ryan Dunn as that lead, youth defender there. I know Dylan Brooks is going to play that role a lot as well.
Right now, they need a center like they need oxygen to breathe. So that's kind of the thing where I think that as of right now, they kind of have to pick a center. I don't know if they, what other moves they have on the horizon, but
if you end up, sorry to cut you off, but like I know they're talking about, like, you're right that they do need a center, like they need air to breathe. But a lot of Suns people are talking about Murray Boyles, and I'm like, if you're gonna pick him, you might as well just pick Carter Bryant, because like you said, like your needs are that of a center. So if you're gonna pick a wing, pick the good wing. And I feel like Carter Bryant is maybe the better player. Maybe that's a cold take for freezing cold takes at some point this summer, later in this year. But
I just wonder if Ryan Dunn and Carter Bryant are both a little too raw.
Yeah,
but at the same time, the Suns are not competing to win a championship. So who cares about a little bit of rawness to someone's game if you truly believe in them long-term in their development, right? So I could see a world where Carter goes to the Suns, where he stays in Arizona. And it's not the worst organization to go to when you look at that list. I know the Suns are a debacle and a circus right now, and it's funny to kind of laugh at them, but like also look at the Wizards and the Trailblazers. I think that those are by far 2 teams that I would want him to avoid even more than I would want him to avoid the Suns. At least he'd play next to Devin Booker, right?
Yeah, one of his favorite guys.
Teams and players that have made playoff runs in their team's past, but like the Wizards and the Trailblazers are probably the 2 most irrelevant franchises in the league as currently constituted. So kind of keep me away from there, I would say. The Spurs would be like a good spot, I think, for him, like to develop with the rest of the team around him. I think would be also like a good alternative to rather than going into an established situation. But where do you want to see Carter go? Like if you could pick an ideal spot, where would you want to see Carter Bryant go?
Well, if we pull up this list again of the teams that are supposed to project to take Carter Bryant, like you said, I would hate for him to go to the Poverty Wizards.
Mhm.
I would hate for him to go to the Poverty Trailblazers. But the Suns, we were talking about it in the office earlier with Suns crew and Espo as well, of just, are we sure that the Suns are going to do good with are we sure they're going to do right by Carter Bryant's development? There's an argument to be made for yes, but there's also an argument to be made for no. And also, do the Suns really necessarily have a direction right now? And do I want Carter Bryant to go to a team that doesn't have that direction yet?
Here's the problem. When you look at the teams that are in that range of where you think Carter's going to go, where would you say? You'd say 6 to 14, right? 6 to 15, probably be around where you think.
I think that's exactly the range. Yeah.
Wizards, Pelicans, who I guess they have some talent on their team, but they're a lifeless franchise. You know, like they have a on paper they have a decent starting five, and it means nothing to anyone in the NBA because they're bad every year. The Nets,
I'm good on that.
the Raptors, the Suns, the Trailblazers, the Bulls, the Hawks. Then 14-15 you have Spurs, Thunder. Like, essentially reading all of that, like, none of those teams sound enticing to me from a development standpoint.
You're not wrong.
I mean, there's a reason that the NBA, rigged it and gave the Sixers, Mavericks, and Spurs the first 3 picks in the draft. And it's because those are the teams that they wanted to have the first 3 picks in the draft. All these irrelevant franchises can stay irrelevant from 4 to 12,
I think of the teams that you listed in that range, yes, I think I would have OKC 1.
Yes.
I think I would have the Spurs 2.
Yes.
And I think I'd have the Suns 3 of the preferred spots for Carter Bryant.
Yeah, I'm with you completely on that.
And I have the other 2 ranked higher than Phoenix. Because honestly, I think if we're talking about putting him next to a guy that is going to develop his game, I think putting him next to D Book is, you can't really have a much better guy for that in terms of the teams that could be picking him, right? And then with
they're
the Spurs,
so irrelevant, but at least like playing next to Trae Young, you could get some easy buckets.
That's a good point too, actually.
But the Hawks are extremely irrelevant, so I don't know how much I want him to go there.
And if he's playing next to Wemby, that's huge for his career too. I think he also fits Wemby's timeline a little bit better than he fits some of these other teams' timelines. So I'm interested to see where he goes.
How do you feel about the Raptors?
I feel like they're not bad at developing talent, honestly. I don't think that their franchise necessarily has a direction right now.
You have Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes right now, Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett. Do you think that he fits into that, or I'm
not sure that he. I'm like you said, he's still quite raw, right? So he's gonna need a team where he can have room at that wing position to still grow into that. But I know you lined up a bunch of talented wings there for Toronto. Like I said, they don't really have a direction, so he could fight and find some time in that lineup because they're not exactly like ready to compete for a title tomorrow.
I'd put them on the same level.
I wouldn't be mad at it
as the Suns. Like if I was tiering it, I'd go obviously Thunder number 1, Spurs number 2 in their own tier, both those teams in their own tier, and then tier 3 I'd say Suns, Raptors, I think, and then everybody else below that because all the rest of those teams are trash.
Yeah.
But draft on Wednesday. We expect Carter Bryant's name to be called in the first half of that one. Kevin and I will be around. We'll rip some content, so stay tuned to our PHNX Sports YouTube channel. We'll be giving you analysis on Carter Bryant and what ends up happening with him. Speaking of the NBA draft, Kevin, right now is a perfect time to become a diehard. We are now doing a NBA draft diehard sale for $36. $36 are kind of our standard sale price that we do here. But there's a reason for that, and that's because our merch costs $34.99. You get a free piece of merch when you sign up for this $36 intro offer. Again, it's an intro offer if you're already a diehard or have been one in the past. I don't believe that you are eligible for it, but great way to sign up right now. You get that free piece of merch for essentially the value of the entire purchase, and for $1 extra, you get Discord content or ability to talk with us in the Discord on a daily basis about all of the great teams here in the state of Arizona, as well as discounts on our events, Kevin. You get diehard articles written by Gerald Bourget. I know he just released one on the Kevin Durant trade and all of the fallout of that. You get, stuff from our guy David, who's kind of the utility man around here. And Kevin is going to start doing some diehard only articles as well for Arizona fans that you will want to get in on. So get that free t-shirt for that value and then just, get Kevin's work for $1 extra. I mean, that sounds like a great deal to me. And through the, start of the NBA draft, you have the ability to sign up right now. So,
and if you want, like Damon said, if you're an Arizona fan and you're like, God, I just need to know more about this fit for the Phoenix Suns, there's no one better to answer that than Eric Ruby, SPG, and Espo and Gerald. So if you even want to go out of, wander out of the Wildcats Discord, head into the Suns Discord, say, hey, I'm an Arizona fan. What are the vibes around Carter Bryant?
You're a big D-backs fan. I think there's a lot of D-backs U of A contingency. July
22nd, U of A night.
I like to think that I'm, kind of personally leading the charge on that. But if you're a big D-backs fan, like D-backs Discord is always popping, like all the time. Not even when the D-backs are playing, people are always in there talking about ball. So it's a great time to sign up. Be a part of our Suns community, be a part of our Arizona community, and get the. I didn't even mention it, but like big part of this diehard offer is you get the NBA draft guide that we have going down at ALLCITY Network, similar to how we did our ALLCITY NFL draft guide with our guy Fran Duffy. Will Gottlieb is doing a similar thing.
Friend of the program.
Yeah, friend of the program. We've been on the show before. He's doing a similar thing where, he's doing his own NBA draft guide. And with this offer, you get full access to that and all of the insider details regarding the NBA draft. So perfect time to sign up. Please do so today. Kevin, that's going to do it for us today. Please drop a like on this video if you haven't done so. Helps us out so much. Subscribe to the channel as well. Road to 50K. We are still well on our way, but we're trying to get there before football season. So any single subscriber helps so much. You can follow my guy Kevin at KevoPost. That's KevoPosts. You can follow me at Damon Dawg. That's DAWG on the end of that guy. And you can follow our main account at PHNX_Wildcats, where we're tweeting out all of the, news and notes regarding Arizona athletics. Saul Bookman, shout out Saul Bookman for his job and his work that he did interviewing Tommy Lloyd out there at U19 trials. Give Saul a follow at Saul_Bookman, and tell him what a great job he did. Let's be positive around here. Let's get a little positive reinforcement.
Spreading positivity on a Monday.
Hell yeah. So it's all about, we'll be back on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. But until then, peace out, bear down.
And go Cats. Bennedict Mathurin, more points all time in the finals than James Harden.
We all silly like the mayor.